Hello and welcome to GameGuru Max live broadcast numero 10. That's right, this is the 10th live broadcast we've done since we've entered into the realms of GameGuru Max development. No storm today, unlike 2 weeks ago when it was basically shaking the roof off. Although there was quite a large storm yesterday, so it sort of missed us by a whole day. So the universe, I think, is out of kilter by 24 hours. So welcome. This is a little sneak peek, a live sneak peek into what's going on in the latter end of the GameGuru Max development as we slowly creep towards a beta. And I've got a couple of things to show you, all within the software. But before I get cracking on that, I just want to check the chat window. If you can hear me, say yay in the chat window so I know I'm talking to more than just myself, and ask any questions that you might have for me. You can do that by putting a question mark at the end or use the word question in square brackets. That way, towards the end of this broadcast, I can scroll through and answer any of those questions, and if I run out of time, I'll actually post them in the Game Guru forums along with a bit more detail than I might have covered verbally today. So we're getting a couple of yays, so you can all hear me. That's great. And I'll move straight into the software. So I'm going to run the latest version of GameGuru Max. And I've added, this time, weapons. So I've got some sample levels just to run through. Now, this is still work in progress, so if it crashes out, this is the nature of development, even when it gets to the latter end of the alpha work. So I'm just going to run 3 levels for you. The first one is melee. I think it's pronounced melee. And as you can see, you can pick up a weapon. So you got a nice shiny metal bit and a nice woody bit. The sword, because you get a nice shiny reflection on there. Now here's the thing, some of these weapons are really old. The legacy ones go back years, and if you remember, it used something called the DNS system, diffuse normal specular. Well, in addition to other work on more modern texture sets like PBR that we introduced, underscore color underscore normal, we can now read the DNS textures and then create a Wicked Engine surface texture from those as well. So this sword was actually potentially the old DNS texturing, and the converter, the one built into the engine, will actually take those textures and then create an appropriate surface texture. It won't be perfect, it won't be like as the artist intended, but it does resurrect really old models that have the DNS system, and so it can render much better in the modern engine. So you can see you've got your melee, and you've got your decals, as you can see there. Doesn't really do much. This one doesn't do much either, but you can see it can hit things. So that's melee. I've got lots of weapons to test. I think I've got about over 50 weapons that I've got for testing. And those all need to be tested before I then go on to the new weapons that have been designed, which is a metal pipe and a new version of the Colt 1911. The new, because in addition to using the very latest and greatest textures, up-to-date visuals, they also have a VR component, which means you can hide the arms, and so you can be in VR and just see the hands manipulate the gun as you wave your control around. The gun will move around. Not got that yet. I can't demonstrate that. That pops up. That's going to be the in-game prompts. At the moment, I've not rendered anything to it. It should have some text in there, but the text for GameGuru Max will be much higher quality than what you got in Classic, and it has a shadow, but it's fine. It just shows that it's there for now. Let's just pick up this one as well. So as you can see, we have an Uzi. This is the same Uzi in Classic. It's just been loaded, and then, as I said, those surface more appropriate lighting within this. I can shoot, see the smoke, grass, like so. I can just knock this over, in fact. I just push it over the side. There you go, and then we can make it roll. Off it goes. And we've got the pistol. Of course, the pistol can shoot. Do that's considering not adding in the full screen sort of zoom wipe, instead referring to this sort of thing. I think it's a bit more authentic and a bit more modern. As you can see, you've got your smoke, you've got your brass, everything that you got in the classic you get in this, but it's rendered using the Wicked engine. And finally, those are pistols. As I said, there's a lot more weapons to test. In fact, before I load in, before I run projectiles, I'll just show you the weapons. These are the ones I'll be testing. So all the classic ones, so bow and arrows, knives, stones, the sniper rifle, the shotgun. But then you've also got these from the enhanced weapons pack, so I'll be testing all these as well. There may be some good news in that there's more enhanced weapon pack DLC potentially coming in the future, so keep an eye out for that. I've seen it. I might have seen it. It might have made it look really good, but I'm not saying anything. But I am saying, I've already said it. So I'm going to let somebody else announce that. But it already looks really good, allegedly. This is the melee weapons pack, so you can see all of these. These are much easier to test, but we have to go through them. The majority I've already tested, but I'm going to go through again once I've finished. And this is the garden weapons, which is part of the melee pack. And so I'm also going to find some more weapons as well, maybe from the asset store. And just keep digging around. And then when I'm satisfied that all of the existing weapon systems work, and then as I said, I'll add the new ones. And those will form part of the seller demo that I'll be designing, that will be included in the beta. So I'm going to pick up all of these. We need some rocket. Reload things. Rockets. So you can see I threw some lights around the scene, and it lights up the weapon. Not perfect, because this weapon was created ages ago, and we're approximating what the lighting should be. But you know, bit shiny, bit smooth. Those can be edited if we choose to bring some of these classic models forward into the GameGuru Max engine. So I'll just fire it into the sky. Also got, let me do that. So throw some grenades down, one a bit close, one medium, and then one way over there. As you'd expect, throw your grenade, it explodes. Now the effects that you see, they're straight out of classic. All of it's really doing is being re-rendered with some slightly different blend modes, but effectively the same animation, the same time, the same sort of particulate effect. Down the road, I think it makes sense to replace all of these with GPU particles and volumetric particles, so that explosion will be three-dimensional. Probably, certainly very important when you're in VR, that you want a volumetric explosion, not just an image rendered to a flat surface. So those are the main groups of weapons: the melee, the pistols, and the projectiles. Obviously, there's lots of other ones that just vary between those three formats, and of course I've got to make sure that all the other stuff works, like the magic fireballs and all the other stuff that we introduce through our own DLCs and third-party DLCs. And don't worry about this scene, it's a little bit too bright. I've just been throwing in loads of lights because we're going to be working on the sun control, make sure that you can switch the sun off and change its strength and move it about a bit so the shadows can move. So that's what I wanted to show you, the fact that we've actually got weapons in finally, with all of the effects that are attributed to it, including all the decal system, which is also working. And that's it. What I want to do is leave a little bit more time this time for questions. I say that, I've just looked at the clock, it's like 30 minutes past. But to be fair, this live broadcast started 2 minutes late, as something very strange was going on with YouTube's live broadcast controls. They seem to have optimised it now, so you can't even click the go live button. It just instantly goes live, and you have to run your streaming software after you start the broadcast session, so go figure. So I'm going to look for some questions now. Maybe they're related to what I've just showed you, maybe they have absolutely nothing to do with what I've been talking about. But I don't see too many at the top, apart from yeah, sounds working, great, wonderful. First question mark, is Photon still coming? Yes, Photon is up and running in one of the variants of the source code, but it's a non-violent implementation. So my job is to bring over the scripts from the Steam multiplayer version, which is an 8-player deathmatch, and actually get that running under the same protocols, same mechanisms, etc., except that it'll be running under the Photon architecture, which is already proved to be working. So you'll be able to see that soon. It'll certainly be in the beta, or at least I've got my fingers crossed that it will be. Another question mark here. Will there be any chance of adding a hide crosshair option in Max and GG via Lua? Now, yeah, that's one of the things that's not been added, because all of the stuff that renders 2D in-game, that's a bit ancient, the stuff that's currently in there. So I'm looking for a way in which Wiki can do that very efficiently and fast, render both 2D on your monitor, but also render it as a quad in VR. And the cursor and the crosshair cursor, that's one of the things that needs to be rendered to the screen. I haven't decided exactly how to do that yet. I presume people still want the crosshair, so you've just got your gun and it's hoisted to the right, for example, and you want to aim in the distance, you want a little cross so you can see where you're firing. So I was contemplating removing it because, you know, modern games just use the weapon itself for its sight, its line of sight stuff. But it's still, the code's still in there, and I will resurrect it and leave it up to you whether you want your crosshair in your game or not. But that whole 2D rendering in monitor and VR still has to be written. But once that's in, the crosshair should just appear. Here we go, another question mark. In Alpha 5, can we test those realistic lights you were showing in the YouTube video? The Alpha 5 video, everything that you see in that video is the Alpha 5. So what you can see in the video, you can do in an Alpha 5. If I've been showing something else after the Alpha 5 was released, then you won't get that until another build goes out. But certainly keep an eye out for that build. And if you can see it in the video and being used, then you'll be able to use it too. How the sun is going to be in GameGuru Max compared to GameGuru. More control. You had to kind of use the tab slider burst to sort of coax the sun to do certain things. But it was very indirect. So this time we're going to have some editor settings which allow you to basically grab that sun, move it around to where you want, remove it completely. One of the things that I've been working with the artist to get the GameGuru Max version of the seller demo looking as good as was intended by the artist. And one of the things he mentioned is you really want to be switching off the sun completely and fully depending on the lights of the scene, which I completely agree with. So we are going to have different and I think better controls for the sun. So keep an eye out for that. It's going to be a new panel in the editor. You've not seen it yet, so that's on its way. It's actually being written as we speak. The characters currently look very out of place. Will they be getting a more realistic overhaul? No. The characters that you've seen so far, those are pretty much it. We'll certainly be adding more body parts, but not much more control. As to how they look in the scene, they are rendered exactly like any other object in the scene. If it doesn't look right, it's because Lee's been doing really poor lighting. Because obviously if you add better lighting, you're going to get a better looking integration of that character in the scene. I think you're referring to that old man 5-minute jobby that I did in one of the previous videos. Don't take that as read. That was just very quickly knocked up and the lighting was pretty bad. You can certainly improve that with a little bit more level design. Looking for another question mark. We've answered that one. Can you please listen to a song I like called... So that's not really a question. Moving on. Weapons, smiley. Can GG Max is going to have screen loading between levels in real 3D, animated instead of 2D pictures? No. No plans to do animated cutscenes in between loading levels. Hopefully that's pretty clear. Hard to hear you, Lee. Too loud, exclamation. So I'm both quiet and loud at the same time. Maybe you can just increase the volume for now. I have so many devices, every time I unplug or replug one in, the microphone could be in a camera, it could be on my microphone, it could be on the Yeti, it could be on a VR headset, or it could be on my headphones. Who knows? So for now, just increase your volume and I'll maybe sort out the volume in the YouTube recording if I can play around with that. So way too loud or can't hear you. So I presume the volume is probably not satisfactory for anyone, so I guess just fiddle with your volume knob. Another question, will there be 3D built-in character editor? The character creator that you've seen so far, that's what you'll get. There isn't going to be any additional editing capabilities of the character creator, all in the stuff that you've seen. If you want to go further than that, I advise you invest in a 3D modeler and start creating characters from scratch, or check out something like Make Human. Or some other tools like Blender, which is free with lots of tutorials on how to create your own characters, animate them, and then you can import them with the importer in GameGuru Max. Here's a question. Belts and Braces got a question, square brackets, and a question mark at the end. So thanks for that, Mad Lobster. What control will we have over light probes and or reflection probes? Well, you'll just be able to add them in. I'm contemplating adding them automatically in every time you put a light down. And then in the light settings, you can switch on and off, and some attributes, say the scope of that environment probe. I think that might be the smartest move. We already had this idea of getting rid of all of the marker lights. I mean, you go into markers, see all these lights? I think everyone's in agreement that you don't need all of them. You just need one, which is basically light. You drop it in, like so, and then you can go and edit the properties of that light. You know, you don't need 10 different light buttons just for each colour. And then you can play around with that. And then the range, you can make it dark. I mean, that's one little tip if you're using Alpha 5. Instead of these really bright lights, like so, just tone it down that way and increase the range. That way your light gets a lot more into the scene without bleeding everything out. But as I said, inside here, I think that's where the environment probes could go. So you could actually set them up and set the size. Just a thought. I mean, it's going to go in the next couple of days, so I think we'll have the answer before too long. Another question underneath that one. Will we still have the issue where modifying environmental lighting by lower effects by actual light settings of the Mac ? It's been a problem I've been experiencing. Not going to be a real injection of new Lua commands to control lighting. You'll certainly be able to switch lights on and off and move them as you currently can, but no plans to add in additional Lua commands for the release. We'll certainly be adding stuff afterwards, of course, but for now we really just want to get all of the pieces of the puzzle in place. Another question further down. For the VR testing, how will that actually work? Steam VR, what headset will we need? Can we do a video to use the headset, like in layman's terms? Right, good question. Good question. We're going to use OpenXR. OpenXR is an open format by the Kronos Group. And the good news is that we only have to write it once, and then any headset that supports OpenXR would instantly be compatible with GameGuru Max. Now for some downsides, the only runtimes available really that work well are the Windows Mixed Reality runtimes and the Oculus runtimes. That's Oculus Rift S and the Oculus Quest. So those are the only two runtimes that I would say those are great out the box. Steam have actually got a beta where they're actually trialling out their own OpenXR runtime. That would then give you access to HTC Vives and the over 40 headsets that Steam also support with Steam VR. But as of right now, the runtime is not right. It's wrong. It kind of works. It only works in 64-bit, but it works, which is fine because GameGuru Max is only 64-bit. But it does things wrong. It doesn't render some things. It doesn't give you some feedback sometimes. So we're still waiting for Steam to have a finished, final, working OpenXR implementation of their runtimes, and then of course it'll run on Steam. But right now, for release, it's OpenXR. That's Windows Mixed Reality and the Oculus. So look out for that. And as for doing a video, absolutely. As soon as the VR button is added, I'll be doing a video which shows off what we're doing. Probably the weapons. I think it'd be really cool to see that pistol being held in the controller and fired using real human line of sight. Another question, will players be able to pick up any meshes with collision detection? Not necessarily weapons, more of a simulation experience. Pick up any meshes with collision detection? Well, you'll certainly be able to pick up an entity. So there's an entity on the floor, you walk up to it, use the pickup script, then you can pick it up. And in VR, you can use your controller to throw it in the air and catch it. So all that stuff is in there. Hopefully that's the answer to the question he was looking for. Will there be a way for a light to follow a waypoint? You could script that. you know, you've got control over light position, you've got control over reading the waypoint path data. So yeah, you can create a script for that. Will it be out the box? No, you'd have to write a script for it. Another question. Where have we go? Oh, here we go. Hello. Was there anything told about the VR support or in the broadcast? Yes, about 3 minutes ago. Scrolling down, getting halfway. I mean, the questions keep on coming, so I will keep answering for another couple of questions. And I'm afraid I'm going to run out of time before you run out of questions. So, is the release still for the 1st of September? If you could send me a post on when the 1st of September was proposed, then I will be able to refute it. But we have never given you an actual date in September as to when the release is going to be. I challenge you to prove me wrong. I want to keep the September release a mystery anyway. It gives me a little bit more time to put some final polishes to the release before I actually do the release. So, moving on to the next question. Anything about the VR support? Yep, 3 minutes ago. Sound is fine. So, they're probably waiting for... I mean, that's probably from 20 minutes ago. But yes, I'm glad that the sound is fine. Another question, when can we adjust bloom? Currently it's way too high. Yeah, it's extremely high, isn't it? But that was just the default. That's just what came with the Wicked engine by default. You'll absolutely be able to control the bloom. Actually, that's being worked on now to be able to control the bloom, not only in the test game, which is all you could do in Classic, but also in the editor. Because you may have noticed the editor rendering is exactly the same as the in-game rendering. There isn't any cut down version for the editor mode. So what you see in the editor is what you see in the game. I'll just do one more question, and then I really do have to cut this one short because it's getting on to 25 minutes in length. Let's see, what's the last question? I'm not the question here, which was the next one. Why are you not using DirectX 12? I think I'll have another question. We're not using DirectX 12 because we're using DirectX 11. There you go. Here's a better question. Can we see Max's settings for all the basics like fog cam, distance lighting being saved per level? Yes, that's actually being worked on. So you won't see it in this live broadcast, but you'll see it in the next thing. Probably a sneak peek or some other reveal. Because I'm quite looking forward to seeing it myself. The amazing Preben is actually working on all those extra editor settings. So you'll be able to, as I say, play it both in the editor and you can also in the game. You can play the game and then bring up that menu and then start playing around with those sliders. So you can have it in 2 different places. So that's it for one more week. Next time is going to be a sneak peek. And of course, you'll be looking forward to a release. I think certainly in the UK, we've got a bank holiday Monday. I do not think I'll be using up that bank holiday Monday outside. I'll be crunching code and getting everything ready for what I would like to reveal very soon is a beta, which basically means function complete. But I'm not revealing on what day we're going to release in September, but we are still on track to release GameGuru Max in September. So keep an eye out for that. And until next time, thanks for your kind attention and your questions. I will answer the rest of your questions and the ones I've just said in more detail on the GameGuru forum. So once this gets recorded and I answer those questions, keep an eye out on the forum for when those answers materialise. So until next time, thanks for your attention and I'll see you next time. Cheers.